back to That Kevin Show with Kevin McCullough.
And we're back from New York. Glad to have you with us. And yet to come in tonight's new music spotlight, Zach and Maggie White from Nashville. Looking forward to hearing from them coming up. I'm speaking with Sam Sorbo, who is the director of a brand new film, documentary called Irreligious Nation. It is available now at salemnow.com. It's filmed on a trip to the Holy Land. And Sam, it was fun a few years ago. My bride and I had the chance to kind of hang with you and Kevin impromptu on a red carpet waiting to get into a Broadway show that told the story of John Newton and the writing of Amazing Grace. And it was a beautiful production. But I remember coming away that night thinking I wanted you two to do more in the area that you've been doing more in since then. It's been so much fun to watch all of the films and all of the projects that have come along. And we just had Kevin on to talk about the Left Behind film not long ago, which you were in, and your son, I believe, as well. But this project, when you're dealing with eternal issues like the veracity of truth and what can be known or not known about our faith, there had to be a piece of this that spoke very deeply to you in terms of the mission and the urgency and the importance with which you did it.
Yeah, I think it changed me as a human being. I know that Israel changed me, and that was a big surprise because
this wasn't your first trip, was it?
This actually was my first trip.
Okay.
It was Kevin's second trip.
Okay.
And I've been back since, and we're actually leading another tour in May. But I will say that, you know me, I'm gregarious. I'm an extrovert. I used to do radio 3 hours a day also.
Yep.
So I love people and I talk to anybody, but I will tell you that Israel changed me. And when I came back to the States, I noticed that I love people more. And that is only the light of Christ that
what
sort
was
of
it about
indwelt
that trip
me.
that did that?
Yeah, it was that trip that it changed me profoundly, and it was completely unexpected. And I didn't even think that it was necessary. I love people. What's the big deal? But I love people more. And I think that we lose our religion at our peril. We're not actually losing our religion. We're replacing it with a false religion. And that false religion is worship of self, worship of money, worship of government. There are so many idols, right? And it's so easy to get sucked into that because we have denigrated Christianity to such an extreme. So, your child is going to a school and the school just completely ignores the Bible. And yet the school is held up as the source of education, right? But it ignores the Bible. And so as being the source of education, it's training the student to think that the Bible is ridiculous. It's completely ignorable. It's a collection of fairy tales. It's whatever, but it's not necessary for education. But as Christians, if we believe the Bible, we think that the Bible is necessary for education. And so it should be absurd to us that a school would purport to educate without any mention of the Bible.
Yeah.
Or without reference to the Bible, which of course the Bible is the best history textbook that we have. The best one.
Well, it's
the best
increasingly
research.
proving to be the best text on science.
Reliable.
As well. And when you're
Yes.
talking about my pastor was just pointing this out a couple of weeks ago, but when you're talking about the biggest conversations going on right now in America, the party of science, the far left, they call themselves the party of science. I'm using big quotation marks for those of you watching on radio. But the party of science doesn't even acknowledge basic biology. They don't acknowledge when human life begins. They don't understand or acknowledge the difference between the sexes as designed by God to fulfill their purposes as ordained by him. There's so much about even the simple things like the stars and the formation of the earth and a whole ton of other things that you can really get into. And they want to say, well, if we're really going to be people of science, then we can't be putting up. Well, actually go do the study on the text of scripture and see where it leads just on its own. Investigate that for yourself. They'll never do that, Sam, because the biggest issue is, and I think that this is probably where your documentary leads to. I'm going to watch it very soon, but to acknowledge that there is an existence of God is to admit that I have to change something.
Oh, yes. Oh, that's very well said. That's very well said. Because if you are a new Christian and you're not changed, then you're not a new Christian. You know what I mean? Then it's having then what's the point, right? And I love this idea that they are the party of science, but they worship themselves. But Fauci is science. Don't you understand?
Wow.
Like,
All right. Can you
right?
stay with me one more segment? We're running out of time fast.
Sure.
Okay. Sam Sorbo, my special guest. She's going extra innings with us. Stay here.
Ready or not, he'll be right back. That Kevin